But on the night of the full moon, when Amma snuck out to swim in the forbidden waters, it wasn't just chance that led her there. Kofi had whispered stories in her ear for weeks, making her curious about what might really happen on that special night. And when Amma met the fish people in the glowing water, Kofi was there too, hidden beneath the waves in one of his many sea creature forms. He watched as the fish woman spoke to Amma, and he smiled to himself, knowing his plan was working perfectly. Meera paused in her story, looking out at the shocked faces of the villagers. "But this was just the beginning," she said softly. Kofi's true plan was only starting to unfold. Meera took a deep breath and continued her story. After that night, Amma didn't know it, but she was carrying more than just the magic of the fish people. Kofi had used his sea demon powers to make sure that the baby growing inside Amma would be very special, half human, half sea creature. When I was born with my fishtail, Kofi pretended to be surprised and worried just like everyone else. But inside, he was happy. His plan was working even better than he had hoped. Kofi knew that my birth would cause trouble in the village. He whispered to some people that I might be dangerous, while telling others that I was a blessing. He wanted everyone to be confused and scared. When the village decided to send us to the small island, Kofi agreed quickly. This was perfect for his plan. On the island, he could raise me away from the village and teach me things without anyone knowing. As I grew up, Kofi taught me about the sea. He showed me how to talk to fish and sense storms coming. But he also told me stories about how humans were bad for the ocean, how they caught too many fish and didn't respect the sea spirits. Kofi was trying to make me distrust humans, even though my mother was human. He wanted me to help him scare the villagers and make them afraid of the sea again. But Kofi's plan had one big problem. My mother, Amma. She was kind and loving, and she taught me to be kind too. She told me stories about the good things humans did and how people in the village had helped her when she was young. As I grew older, I started to see that Kofi and Amma had very different ideas about humans and the sea. Kofi would get angry sometimes when I talked about wanting to meet the villagers. He would say they wouldn't understand me and might hurt me. Amma, on the other hand, always said that people could learn to accept those who were different. She believed that I could help bring humans and sea creatures together. I didn't know it then, but Kofi and Amma were fighting a quiet battle over what I would believe and who I would become. Things changed when I saved the two fishermen from the storm. Kofi was angry about this, though he tried not to show it. He didn't want me to help humans or make friends with them, but it was too late. Once I visited the village and saw how kind and curious the people were, I knew that Kofi had been wrong about them. I wanted to help bring peace between the land and sea, not create fear and division like Kofi had planned. Kofi realized his plan was falling apart. He had spent years setting everything up, but now it was all going wrong. That's when he decided he needed to do something big and scary to make everyone afraid of the sea again. One night, when Amma and I were asleep, Kofi slipped into the ocean. He swam far out to sea and began to change. He made himself huge, bigger than any sea creature anyone had ever seen. He became a monster with many arms like an octopus, sharp teeth like a shark, and a body that glowed in the dark water. Kofi knew that if people saw this monster, they would be terrified. They would stop going out in their boats and maybe even leave the village by the sea. Then the ocean would belong to him and the sea creatures again. But Kofi had forgotten one important thing. He had taught me to sense things in the sea, and even in my sleep, I could feel that something was wrong. I woke up suddenly, feeling a disturbance in the water. I slipped out of our house and into the sea, following the strange feeling. As I swam, I could sense something big and powerful moving through the water, and somehow I knew it was Kofi. Meera paused, looking out at the villagers who were listening with wide eyes and open mouths. What happened next, she said, would change everything forever. Meera took a moment to collect her thoughts, then continued. I swam faster, my tail pushing me through the water. I could feel Kofi getting closer to the village. I knew I had to stop him before he scared everyone. As I got near, I saw him. Kofi was enormous, bigger than anything I'd ever seen in the sea. His body kept changing, sometimes looking like a giant squid, then a huge shark, then something that didn't look like any real creature at all. He glowed with an eerie light that lit up the dark water around him. I called out to him, "Father, stop!" Kofi turned, surprised to see me. His eyes, big as boats, looked at me. For a moment he changed back into his human form, but he was still giant-sized. "Meera," he said, his voice rumbling through the water. "Go back to the island. This doesn't concern you." But I shook my head. "It does concern me," I said. "You're going to scare the villagers. You'll ruin everything we've worked for." Kofi's face grew angry. "Worked for?" he shouted. "I've been working for years to make humans fear the sea again. They don't respect the ocean. They take too much and give nothing back. They need to be taught a lesson." I was shocked. I had never seen my father like this before. "But that's not true," I said. "The villagers have changed. They care about the sea now. They leave gifts for the ocean spirits and only take what they need." Kofi shook his head. "It's not enough," he said. "Humans will always be greedy. They can't be trusted." I realized then that Kofi had been lying to me my whole life. He wasn't just a fisherman who had accepted his mermaid daughter. He was a powerful sea demon who had planned everything from the beginning. "You tricked everyone," I said. "You tricked Mom, the villagers, even me." Kofi's face softened a little. "I did it for you, Meera," he said. "I wanted to create a world where you would be safe, where the sea would rule again." But I shook my head. "No," I said firmly. "You did it for yourself. You were angry and afraid of humans, so you wanted to make them afraid of you." Kofi's face twisted in anger again. He started to grow even bigger. "You don't understand," he roared. "I'll show everyone the true power of the sea." He started to move towards the village again, but I swam in front of him. "I won't let you," I said. Kofi laughed. "You can't stop me, Meera. I'm more powerful than you can imagine." But what Kofi didn't know was that I had a power too. A power I had kept secret, even from him. The fishwoman who had given my mother her gift had visited me too, when I was very young. She had given me the ability to calm the seas and speak to all sea creatures. I closed my eyes and focused. I called out to every fish, every dolphin, every whale in the area. I asked them to come and help me. Kofi was so busy trying to scare me that he didn't notice at first. But then he saw them, thousands of sea creatures, big and small, all swimming towards us. The creatures surrounded Kofi, swimming in circles around him. They weren't attacking, just creating a living barrier. "What is this?" Kofi said, confused. "This is the true power of the sea," I said. "Not fear or anger, but cooperation and harmony." Meera paused in her story, looking at the amazed faces of the villagers. "But the most incredible part," she said, "was still to come." Meera took a sip of water and continued her tale. As Kofi looked around at all the sea creatures, something began to change in his eyes. The anger started to fade, replaced by confusion and then wonder. "How?" he asked me. "How did you do this?" I swam closer to him, no longer afraid. "The sea gave me this gift," I said, "just like it gave you your powers. But I think you forgot something important, Father." Kofi tilted his huge head, listening. "The sea isn't just about power and fear," I said. "It's about life and balance and working together. All these creatures live in the sea, but they don't try to rule it. They each play their part in keeping the ocean healthy." As I spoke, Kofi began to shrink. Slowly, he turned back into his human form, normal-sized again. The glow faded from his skin. I didn't know," he said softly. "I've been alone for so long, angry at humans, that I forgot what it was like to be part of something bigger." I held out my hand to him. "You're not alone, Father. You have me and Mum and all these sea creatures, and the villagers too, if you'll give them a chance." Kofi looked at my hand for a long moment. Then, slowly, he reached out and took it. As soon as he did, something amazing happened. A soft blue light surrounded both of us. I felt a tingling sensation all over my body. When the light faded, I gasped. Where my tail had been, I now had legs. Kofi's eyes widened in surprise. Then he smiled, a real warm smile that I had never seen before. "The sea has given you a new gift," he said. "Now you can truly live in both worlds." I was so excited that I almost forgot how to swim. Kofi helped me to the surface, where we found my mother in a boat looking for us. She had woken up and found us both gone.